Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah.
Alright.
How are you guys?
Doing well?
Yeah. It's a nice short day at work.
Yeah?
So, I ended up working a half hour later than I'm supposed to, and it was still a short day, so...
When did you get out of there?
Got out of there about 2:30, 3, something like that.
Nice, that's a nice day.
I'm pretty excited because I just booked something that I'm pretty excited about. That's a pretty big deal.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Okay, so, I'm going to go into on my other podcast, so let's get to the point. If you want to look that up on iTunes, I'm going to release an episode where I go into a longer diatribe of what's leading up to this. But basically, what it's going to culminate to, is I've booked the Waynesboro High School Auditorium for next fall for a hometown like comedy show. And it's going to be like pay what you want. It can be free or whatever you think is necessary. It's 1,000 seats. And my goal, it's like this goal setting thing I'm trying of like by that time to get really good with really tight material and get enough hype on this event to fill 1,000 seats by then.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, and my friend Joseph William Lewis, who just wrote and directed a pilot called Nowheresville. You can go on YouTube right now, youtube.com/toastedschizo. You can watch Nowheres, or just type Nowheresville in the search bar. It's his hour-long indie pilot I have a role in. He's going to shoot and direct it, and we're going to upload it to YouTube as like a actual comedy special for free.
Neat.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm really
How the hell did
excited
you
about
manage
it.
that?
I just went and talked to them about it, and they said, yeah, you just rent it however you want. You're just not allowed to have alcohol in there, and you put down a deposit, and if you fuck things up, I mean, they keep the deposit. If not, you get it back, but all I really need is a microphone.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So I'm sure you'll hear more about that in the future, but it'll be around November 2014. Kenn Edwards, Waynesboro, Virginia, hometown show. One night only.
Show up here.
Yep. Do it. Anyway, moving on. I hadn't looked in days, and I was really excited on my way here, wondering if Film Crit Hulk emailed us back.
Mm-hmm.
But I checked as soon as I got here, and he hasn't emailed us back yet. But I emailed him the day after we recorded this last podcast, which I just uploaded as of recording this, if you're wondering timeline-wise where we are. And so I emailed him, and I was like, hey, so if what are your legal restraints as far as being involved in looking at scripts, and if you are allowed to evaluate whoever script you want for money, how much do you charge to dedicate time enough to be in an episode and talk about our script thoroughly? So those are the two questions I asked him, and we're waiting to hear back. Third order of business, I guess. It's just these scenes that I wrote that I'm excited to read.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to hear it. There's some pretty big shit going on in these scenes.
Yeah, these are the scenes that are like right before the climax of the movie, where you feel like things are like as down and like fucking. There's conflict, and like it seems hopeless, and you don't know if the heroes are going to make it out. You know that part in every movie right before the climax. And
that you know, basically life is taking a shit on Batman.
Yeah, this is the ambush scene at the Batcave with the fight with Clock King and Ubu. If you don't know what that culminates in, I won't spoil it right now. And leading into after that, the scene in Bruce Wayne's study where he has a hallucination of the Joker. And that scene, the ladder, has haunted me for a while because I've been really excited about doing it, but I've just been waiting till the last, like, putting it off because I don't know, I was like, it seemed like a big challenge or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like the only scene I wrote where I'm like, I'm super happy with a lot of other scenes, but like I really love the dialogue that I came up with. Like I like bubbled in the back. It was cooking in a stew in the back of my mind, like for months as we've been talking about writing this. Mm-hmm. And
slow roasted.
Yeah, finally just took it off, and now I'm about to serve it. It's gonna be hot and nice for you guys.
I like hot and nice.
And the other thing I'll say before we read this is in the ambush sequence, particularly, there's because sometimes when we read scenes, your immediate reaction afterwards is not gauged on like the mood I'm going for or what I'm trying to create for the audience that's happening. You're more like concerned with like specific things, like, well, this can't be here. That's not in canon with this. Like, we'll change all that in the edit. Just focus on what I'm trying to do with each moment. Okay. There are definite lines in the ambush scene that will have to be changed. Mm-hmm. But just focus on what I'm trying to do. But yeah, other than that, I guess we're going to read. The thing that we didn't specify last podcast when we were reading the beginning of the scene was Sean was reading both Talia and Alfred. So, and we didn't know who was speaking at each time. So we're gonna have to pick one person for Sean to be. And since Sean won't change his voice for any characters, you're gonna have to be the other.
Okay.
Woo!
I can do that.
Okay, so
I can be Talia. I'll just be like, I'll try and do like Batman and Talia dialogue and see how well that works out.
Okay.
You can be Alfred.
You're gonna be Alfred, Sean. You're also gonna be Ubu. And I think it'll be fairly obvious when those differences are happening. And I'm going to be...
Ubu's all African sounding, even though he's like a
Middle
Arab
Eastern
or something.
Dude. Yeah. And I am going to narrate, be the Clock King, and the Joker.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this since like Tuesday.
I know, I thought we were going to record on Tuesday. I was really looking forward to this. Interior, Batcave, evening. Alfred puts away some tools. The Batwing rockets in. Alfred presses a nearby button and the workbench area disappears into the floor. The ship lands. Bruce and Talia exit. Bruce is preoccupied, rushing to the Bat computer.
I'm guessing you put it over here?
Alfred, who stands next to the casing of a new Batsuit, looks disappointed.
Good to see you too, sir.
Talia approaches Alfred, extending her hand.
Good to see you again, Alfred.
Reluctantly, he shakes her hand.
Hello, Miss Ghul.
Bruce works vigorously at the Bat computer.
It looks like it matched up a sample from the archives and singled out one of the elements. Extract of Lazarus. I thought you said there was no need to sample the Lazarus pit. Yeah, because I already had it in my database.
Is that enough to create a cure?
Not yet, but it's still breaking it down. I thought I showed you how to do this. You can build anything, but when it comes to computers...
I'm sorry, sir. I did my best.
It's fine. We just need to give it a bit more time.
At that, a pocket watch flies through the air, landing nearby. Talia reaches down to pick it up. It ticks loudly. Bruce pulling her away.
No! Don't!
An explosion. The smoke clears. Guarding Alfred and Talia, Bruce looks up to see... It's been a long time, Batman.
Who is that?
Clock King? What the hell is he doing here?
The Clock King continues to throw pocket bombs, which Bruce quickly disposes of before they destroy his lab equipment.
I've got to say, I'm surprised to see you, Temple.
He tosses a pocket bomb back at the Clock King, then his grappler.
I was sure your time had passed.
If you think your wit is quicker than mine... He catches the pocket bomb on his cane, tossing it straight up in the air. Your hours are numbered. POV, Bruce. The Clock King disappears. Bruce's grappling hook recoils.
Huh?
The Clock King silently appears behind Bruce and trips him. You deserve time off! The Clock King attempts to stab Bruce with the end of his cane, but he catches it.
Temple, I know for sure I can work around your time belts.
Bruce pushes the cane forward, smacking Fugit in the face.
But your sense of humor might kill me.
Clock King recoils and tosses a time belt at Bruce, who catches it and sends it right back. Clock King smiles and disappears, leaving it hurtling behind him. Toward Talia.
Talia!
Talia goes from standing by, ready for battle, to total dismay. She shields with her arms. The belt hits her as she fast-forwards a few moments. A second later, it deactivates, restoring normal time, and Ubu has apprehended her.
Traitor!
Bruce throws a batarang at Ubu, who falls down, dropping Talia, who is caught by Bruce.
Beloved!
The Clock King appears in front of them. I'm sorry. Bad time? Talia embraces Bruce, who rolls away. The Clock King readies his cane when...
The 90s called.
Confused, the Clock King lowers his cane when he is whacked in the head with someone else's.
They want their sense of humor back.
I'm sorry, I know it's all ridiculous. Standing, Bruce lifts Talia to her feet.
Thank you, Alfred.
Looking around, they all back into one another as shadow guards appear from all corners of the Batcave.
I think you picked the wrong side this time, Talia. Don't encourage them. They don't understand sarcasm.
If only you'd taken time to try on your suit, sir.
And risk another heart attack right before this? You had a heart attack?
Not exactly.
Some other time.
Or not! The Clock King appears in front of the Bat computer. There is no other time. You only exist now. In my time. He activates an explosive.
Distract him. How? Just fight!
Our heroes all rush in different directions, and a full-blown, Hollywood-style, action-packed fight sequence takes place. Talia faces off with shadow guards. Bruce KOs a shadow guard, steals his staff, and squares off against Ubu. Alfred runs to the Bat computer.
Stay away from there.
The Clock King laughs, placing the explosive on the hardware. I'm not sure if I should kill you or just wait 15 minutes. I could speed up my belt. A buzz. The Bat computer produces a vial, which Alfred quickly grabs. He goes to pocket it, but Clock King swats it out of his hand with a cane. It lands on the floor amid the chaos, but Talia grabs it mid-fight. The explosion goes off. Alfred and Clock King jump away from it as the fight continues on. As the smoke clears, Bruce finishes tying up Ubu. Talia trips the last two guards that are holding her down, putting them in a sleeper hold as their necks meet the ground level, knocking them out a beat later. Alfred stands atop the Clock King triumphantly, when Fugit laughs maniacally. He presses a button on his belt, then reacts in surprise when nothing happens. What the clock? Hold on a second. He looks at his waist. Alfred has attached a separate time belt to the one worn by Fugit. He activates it. No! Not this time!
Yes, the last time.
Clock King's belt speeds up his timeline, but remains visible in real time by the sphere set by the second belt. The group watches him age rapidly, eventually turning into a pile of dust, resembling the remains of Abaddon victims. When the body dissolves, the belt deactivates. His clock-rimmed glasses fall to the ground. Bruce and Talia approach Alfred.
Wow, Alfred. What did he do to you?
He called me old, sir.
On the opposite side of the room, Ubu rubs his constraints against his sheathed dagger.
Remind me to lay off on that. I was worried there for a moment. You were? It's Alfred.
Unfortunately, in this state, there's no way we can get him to inform us of Rachel's location.
Oh, that's why I tied up Ubu.
Bruce throws a thumb over his shoulder. Ubu unsheaths his dagger from an orange-stained sheath. The dagger dripping of Abaddon solution, he lunges toward Bruce.
Oh, good.
Alfred looks back.
That should be Master Bruce.
Alfred has just enough time to shove Bruce out of the way. In the flash of a moment, Bruce falls as Ubu thrusts forward, stabbing Alfred square in the chest, mirroring the imagery of Batman getting shot at the bank. Bruce looks up and realizes what happened, and leaps up to catch Alfred as he falls.
No!
Bruce cradles Alfred as he lowers them to the ground. Alfred immediately ages more rapidly.
Your father would be proud.
With that, Alfred dissipates into nothing, his remains falling through Bruce's fingers.
No. Not again.
For just a moment, Bruce tears up, his jaw dropped in shock. Talia rushes to his side. Bruce covers his face. Silence. Then, the camera pulls back to a dagger dripping with yellow and red. It sits next to a foot, secure in a familiar sandal. Bruce looks up at Ubu, and for a beat the camera filters red. Ubu, shocked and distraught, falls to his knees as Bruce runs at him, full of rage. Ubu shuts his eyes. When Bruce reaches him, he holds back nothing, beating at full force. After a few moments of this, Bruce stands over Ubu, rearing back a fist and yells.
Ah!
Ubu takes a deep breath. At the height of his scream, Bruce turns around and punches the wall of the Batcave. The force shakes and echoes all around them.
No. I will not become this.
Turning back toward Ubu.
Become you.
Ubu, still holding his breath, facing Bruce, backs away.
Go. Tell your master he failed. Tell him I'm going to find him.
Ubu has backed up against the edge of the cliff. He looks back over the ledge, then back to Bruce.
I can't believe what I've done. I defeated the greatest warrior I've ever seen in the most dishonorable way possible. I'm sorry.
He reaches up to his neck, and we zoom in on his face.
Archangelisk, may the shadows live forever.
Ubu activates the suicide gas and steps off the cliff, leaving a cloud of green smoke to rise in his place. Bruce looks on for a moment, breathing heavily. He turns to Talia, who sits next to the pile of what used to be Alfred, and walks past her, up the stairs, toward the study.
Bruce?
She stands, looking up after him. Continuing on, Bruce silently exits. Okay, so that was the ambush sequence. I know it's filled with a lot of ridiculous puns that need to be changed. Crazy shit. But I didn't know what to do specifically for a lot of the stuff, but I think you get the vibe of what I was going for.
Yeah.
I definitely know all that. A lot of it needs to be edited. But continuing on into this scene in the study. Interior, Wayne Manor. Study. Bruce sits in his master chair next to the fireplace, looking up at the portrait of Alfred Pennyworth. Thunder crashes outside. Talia enters the study and approaches Bruce slowly. She puts a concerned hand on his shoulder, which he holds for a moment. As soon as she begins to speak, he cuts her off.
Bruce, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that there was nothing I could do to prevent this. You're going to say that this isn't my fault, and that it's just like my parents' death. But you're wrong. When my parents died, I was 8 years old. I was a helpless child who watched them get murdered in front of me. But in the 40 years it's been since that day, I've been forging myself into a symbol of justice. But I've grown arrogant. I've taken it upon myself to single-handedly save the world from everything that's going to come to it. And what has that done? It's cost Alfred his life. Everyone who's gotten close to me has ended up worse for it. So, I'm going to call the Justice League and tell them everything we know. Hopefully, they'll be able to fix it from there. Then, I'm going to call the police. And I'm going to assume responsibility for Alfred's death. I've spent my entire life trying to dole out justice. Now it's my turn. Bruce, you can't do this to yourself. I've seen you do this to yourself every day I've been with you since we've met. What's the death toll at now for my father's attacks? Millions? And you blame yourself for each and every one. You can only do so much.
She waits for a response. Nothing.
If you want to honor Alfred, in life or death, continue the fight he fought behind daily. Even though I'm sure he'd rather you live a normal, happy life, his final moments were fighting at your side in service of your mission, because he believed in what you stand for. Or stood for.
She returns to the grandfather clock exit.
Take whatever time you need, but don't sabotage everything we, all three of us, have fought for, or else his death will be meaningless.
She exits. As she closes the door behind her, a gloved hand shuts it on the other side. An eerie laugh fills the room. Bruce looks behind him, gasping at the sight of the Joker.
Isn't all death meaningless, really, when it comes down to it?
You!
Bruce furrows his brow and moves quickly to get up when...
That won't be necessary, old chap.
Bruce sits back cautiously, not relaxed. Joker approaches and lounges casually in the chair across from him.
I mean, what good came out of mine? For years, all you wanted was to stop me from doing what I do best. You fantasized about it, but when the time finally came for Boy Wonder to deliver that sweet release, did all of your problems come to a close? Did life deliver the big, juicy prize desire always promises?
You stopped killing people.
Yet people still died! That's the point, Brucey. It all stays the same whether you contribute or not. So why not take time out to enjoy it? I certainly do.
Joker produces a martini and sips it casually.
The only people who seem to enjoy it are those with others to enjoy it with.
Yet we never needed anybody to feel sad and alone, did we? Whoever shuffles the deck sometimes loses a card. 2 in your case. That's why I stuck around, to make yours feel complete.
Hardly. You just kept me busy.
Call it what you want. Your father was a busy man himself. He had a wife, a kid, the whole package, but still gave in to his desire to work hard, even to a point where he had to entertain himself at night, which I know you can relate to. Whether or not he should have taken his family with him is up for debate, but...
Enough!
Fine. I'm only asking. Where did it get him? Raising his family? Serving his purpose? Give up? The same place Alfred ended up, unfortunately. All for entertaining your desires, be it your fears or fantasies.
Why are you here?
Joker hops up and saunters over to Bruce.
I'm here because it's time you finally got the joke.
Now I'm sure I'm going crazy if you're my only voice of reason.
Think for a moment, Bruce, about our time together, our rise to power, our iconic struggle. You were always my inspiration. I saw you out there, never giving up, and felt determined to be the most me I could be, going strong through to the bitter end, allowing you to be the fullest you. We reached our prime and our rivalry peaked, allowing you to go out on top, leaving my reputation among Gotham crime lords unrivaled. And what have you felt since then? Immeasurable emptiness.
I've felt empty my entire life.
But never emptier. What I'm trying to say here, friend, in the most delicate of terms, is I was always there for you. The yin to your yang. Maybe your time was supposed to end the moment you ended mine. That was it. Your last hurrah, Bruce. And the fact that you can't see that for yourself is the greatest punchline of my life.
Bruce's jaw drops as he stares into the fire. Joker cackles.
Yes, now you get the joke. Good or bad, it's never mattered. Only there for each other because we had nothing else. life's little gift to us. Bruce stands, trying to fight these words.
No.
Yes. And now that you get the joke, you can see it everywhere. In Robin's corrupted innocence, despite your best intentions. In the trust you show your girlfriend when you know how she acts around Daddy. In Alfred's untimely death, never seeing the suit he spent his last days breaking his back over in action. Sometimes, whether we like to admit it or not, there are just too many signs for us to ignore. The Joker's laughter takes over to the point of intensity, yet with those final words, Bruce flashes back to Alfred saying the same thing in reference to continuing to fight. Bruce then faces the Joker, now rolling on the ground in uncontrollable laughter. He makes his way to the grandfather clock. Joker takes notice. Wait, where are you going?
To finally finish you off for good.
Wait, Brucey, no, no! Bruce exits, closing the clock door behind him. At the moment it shuts, the Joker's hallucination disappears.
Oh, man. That's fucking nuts.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I liked
Yeah.
your, like, puns and one-liners there for the clock game. They were great.
Those need some work, but but the Joker stuff I'm especially proud of.
Oh, man.
Did you like it?
Oh, yeah, no. Especially that dialogue is... That dialogue is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are your changing? What don't you like?
Well, the ambush scene is almost, of course, because you brought this up, it's a little too hilarious.
I know.
I
can't help myself sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for what it is, and other than that, it'll flow pretty well. You know, some minor dialogue changes and whatnot.
The only gag I just really want to stick with in that scene is when they're all like backing up to each other's backs, and I sort of imagine like a camera panning around them as like the shadow guards are like coming in on them, and then like they each have a line following each other like in succession, and it's kind of like amusing. Like, you had a heart attack some other time. But that's the only part that like I really like love that I envision like couldn't like get out of my head as far as jokes go.
Mm-hmm. And and one thing that was actually missing from there that I really wanted to see, and I don't know if we can work it in.
I'm sure we can.
But the I wanted to see the thing where the Clock King. It was a shot of the Clock King just walking between two aisles of lab equipment, just hurling pocket bombs left and right without looking at them, and just causing absolute fucking mayhem.
See, yeah, and I assume when I say stuff like that, like I don't know, like to me that was in the script, even though it wasn't like defined. Like, like we're just gonna say destructive stuff is happening, and we're gonna put that stuff in the movie. We just don't need to describe every single shot. You know what I'm saying? We can definitely like we can definitely add it in. Like mm-hmm. He's as Bruce is doing this, he dodges some lab equipment. Clock King is destroying or whatever. Like just whatever to like throw it in there. Yes, I did not define the fact that like a bunch of lab equipment got destroyed. So yeah, absolutely, we can put that in there.
But yeah, that was just what I was getting at. Is like, I know in screenplays you're supposed to keep it short, sweet, and to the point, but then you think to the screenplay for the Lord of the Rings movies. When it came to a sword fight, they actually choreographed the sword fight into the screenplay.
Right.
They didn't go that in depth into the sword fights for Star Wars, just because there's just like they have a lightsaber fight in this big room, and they go on to very briefly describe what happens.
Right.
But like and I was sort of envisioning us going more the Lord of the Rings route than the Star Wars route, which I know Sean will hate. But that was just what I was thinking.
Well, I picture it. I mean, to Penn Film Critic again, if you read his column on action, it's about how screenplays that have action sequences that are spelled out are creating drama for the moment. And you totally spelled out every action like moment in the Ra's and Batman fight. And that is stuff we will definitely put all in the script. Like, that is going to be like, yeah, as you're describing it, if you just read the notes I have from listening to you describe it in past episodes, you can hear the symphony behind it going dun dun dun. Like, you can just hear it. Like, it's really intense. Like, that's stuff that, like, as long as it's feeding towards the story and creating conflict for characters, then absolutely, there's no issue with that. Also, with Lord of the Rings, the scripts got written after everything was okayed, and they knew they were going to be making 4-hour-long movies.
Oh yeah, that was just my thing. And the and for the Joker scene, there were a couple of lines of Bruce's that I didn't think flowed right.
Okay.
But all the Joker dialogue is perfect. Definitely that. I think Bruce's lines sort of seem to falter a little bit in between that.
Okay.
And the other thing was like him saying "not again" when Alfred died.
Yeah, I wondered what you thought about that.
That's something that I think he would think, but I don't think it's something that he would say out loud.
Okay.
I don't think there's a way to deliver that line without being
On the nose.
right.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up that point. Because there was one other thing I meant to bring up and would have forgot about had you not said that. And we are all to look out for these things in each other's writing. Like things that are too on the nose and in your scene that we read last week of the record time sequence. Well written scene. Bruce does the whole fucking record time thing, flip-de-doo, and then he lands and he has dialogue, and it was all very pertinent to what was going on in the story, and this is like the only dialogue change that, like, of everything that I've edited of yours, this is like the only thing that I have a strong feeling about.
Okay.
And that is, it was like a half a page long almost, or a third of the page or whatever, but everything he was saying was everything that record time sequence was supposed to represent. Like, if we're doing our job as filmmakers, the fact that he has just experienced all of that with the Joker after losing Alfred, and I actually meant to add in there that before he leaves the scene with the Joker again, he looks back at the painting with Alfred before he walking out. After those, if he puts on that suit and then simply lands, like, sees record time, smiles, looks at Talia, and says the line that you say for the end of that scene, we just throw that right there, let's go. That's all we need to know to spell out everything that you had him, or to depict everything that you had him spelling out for the audience.
that makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
So yeah, I just, in that pass of that thing, I totally just, yeah, he lands and he just says, let's go. I also put a thanks Alfred, but that's up to you. But yeah, that's the only point that I like. That, as far as writing goes, that's the only thing you've shown that I had any real criticism about, as far as like our story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it should be slightly more than just "let's go." I think you should have maybe like one other line before that. Okay. But yeah, I get what you're saying, man. I agree.
Okay. I made a few lines after "let's go." Like, I sort of took a little bit of the info in that paragraph and put it afterwards. But the peak of that moment has to be him saying "let's go." Like, that's like, we're moving on. Like, that's what every story in the world is about: letting go and moving on. Like, like him saying, we're moving on with the story despite everything that just happened. We're going to triumph. Like, I can't think about that like without like wanting to get out of my seat and applaud at that moment. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to do? That's all I brought for this week. And I know we have a limited time.
This is something that we're going to have to hammer out when we get everything all put together. But he's not just going to leave Alfred's ashes.
Right.
There's got to be something done with those, because it's not like I don't think he's just going to leave them, then go fight Ra's al Ghul and come back and deal with that when he gets back. I think anybody would see that as a sign of disrespect.
No, I totally agree. Talia could have done something with them while Bruce is talking to the Joker.
Maybe.
She kind of seems like the person who would. Treat her with respect.
Yeah.
Maybe have her mention something about that or something.
Yeah.
And then...
let me just go ahead and, while we're here, because that's a really short scene and we've talked enough about it, I'm just going to show you what I did with the rest of that scene. I took all your action and put it into one thing. It's all the same. And... Okay, so Batman gets done with the record time fucking thing. Breathing heavily, Batman pulls off his mask. He smiles.
Thanks, Alfred.
Which I'm debatable on. You can think about it. Talia appears out of the shadows, making herself known. Bruce notices her and smiles.
Let's go.
Talia lights up, running to his side. They embrace.
We're already fueled up.
They walk toward the Batwing, but Talia stops.
But Bruce, we still don't know where we're going.
Bruce yells back at her, walking forward with purpose.
I do.
And then cut to exterior Ra's al Ghul's fortress with the superimposed Arkhangelsk, northern Russia.
Oh, okay.
So that's a more subtle way to move the I know where we're going. If you don't mind that. I love moving. I love just making a script. I've never really done this before, and it's so much fun.
It's gonna be fucking nuts when we get something at the end of it.
Yeah. So next episode, I'm calling it. We're ending this episode around here.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's about time for you to head out anyway, isn't it?
I mean, I don't have. The next thing we have to start is writing the finale together, which we don't have enough time to start today.
Right.
So,
that's. I'm thinking that's something we should start doing like middle of the day Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's something that easily would take up 2 episodes worth of time just to do it.
Yeah.
I do have a few notes that you told me to put notes that come up in my head that I want to see. Yeah, I've started that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Bring it up, man.
Yeah.
You can bring them up now.
Oh, I don't have them now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've just been writing them down.
Okay. Cool. Right on. Well, then we'll revisit those next time, and we'll start writing the scene, and that'll be the next episode.
And then after that, that'll be the 22nd. So to meet our end of the year deadline, we would have 9 days to take the rough draft and hammer it out into a completed screenplay. I think we can do that.
I think we can too.
As far as I'm concerned, we're very slightly behind schedule, but not so far behind that we have to really fucking rip our dicks off to get in.
Right.
Is that a
Yeah, no, that's good.
Is that a good metaphor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, since we're defining lines that are in our script, let's just end it with you giving us one of those. As we continue on this script writing journey, Batman,
Let's go.
get it? Ta-da.